Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soaring to tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Phil, Scott, and Kathleen. I didn't hesitate at all. I just said it all. No hesitation.
Hi, guys.
Hi guys, she read that.
Welcome aboard, guys. She got it right. It only took 33 episodes. Well done.
And I intentionally sped through it so I wasn't accused of hesitating or forgetting your names.
We sound like one person. Phil, Scott, Kathleen.
Phil, Scott, Kathleen. Well, it's like NKOTB.
Just gotta take it step by step.
We're hanging tough here, waiting for you.
Yeah, so Scott has his name, his and Kathleen's name on the screen as NKOTB. So which new kid on the block are you, Scott? Are you Jordan? Are you Joey? Danny?
I'm always Donnie.
Donnie?
I'm a wall bugger.
I was a huge New Kids on the Block fan when I was younger, of course.
Shocking.
Joey was my favorite.
That was my favorite.
Embarrassingly, my 8th grade yearbook, when people wrote what they wanted to be when they grew up, I wrote, I want to be Joey McIntyre's wife. The irony of that is that
is
I was
embarrassing.
voted. It's very embarrassing, and the irony is that I was also voted most likely to succeed. So I feel like that award and what I wrote in my yearbook were not in alignment. I'm ashamed of my 8th grade self.
I was definitely not voted most likely to succeed.
But look at you now. A Disney Vacation Club owner at the Polynesian. What else could define success in life other than that?
Well, if you ask my wife after last week, it would be Disney Vacation Club owner at Grand Floridian, but we're not going to get into that.
She's a smart woman.
We'll talk about it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, speaking of last week in Disney, while we were there, it was unseasonably warm for a weekend in May. I think temperatures reached as high as like 106 one day. It was quite steamy in Central Florida that day. So that was kind of the inspiration for what we're going to talk about for today's episode, which is ways to beat the heat during the really hot summer months when you're at Disney World.
I just don't go in the really hot summer months, so that's my contribution for this episode.
Well, you were there last weekend and it was freaking hot.
It was hotter than the face of the sun, hence why I did not have the chicken parmesan at Tony's Town Square.
Well, it didn't prevent you from getting food poisoning and getting crud on your shorts.
It was not food poisoning, but I actually would have preferred food poisoning to walking out of there with white cheese all over the front of my shorts, smelling like feet.
Oh, well, I think Kathleen and Scott have like a little bit of a different perspective because they live there. So they need to beat the heat on a regular basis. And so I just have a question for you guys. Do you feel like you were prepared for how hot it is, like living there?
I would say after 2 years of living here, we still are not fully acclimated to it. You can definitely tell there's a day. It's a specific day. I don't know if it's the same day every year. I'm sure it's not, but you can feel when the humidity kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you wake up 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. You go outside and you can just feel that, you can't really breathe as good.
Well, I felt that like what, 2 weeks ago? I let Parker out in the morning, and the first thing I said was, "Oh,
And the opposite is true too. In October, it's always around Kathleen's birthday. In October, you can feel a break. So there's definitely a season where, as Phil said, it's hotter than the sun and it's not quite as enjoyable just to go to a park. You have to have a plan. And I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just some things that you can do to try and make it bearable in those summer months when it's just unbearably hot outside.
When we got delayed getting off the ground last Tuesday, the flight attendant who lives in Orlando, that's where she comes out of, said it is clear that the summer weather has already arrived here. We already have summertime storms, summertime delays, and summertime heat. This summer has just come early this year.
Yep, I looked at the 14-day extended forecast and it is already just 97, 98, and that's not with a heat index.
well, we were at the park. We were at Epcot
A couple days ago.
a couple days ago, and it was unbearably hot. Like, it just felt different that day. I mean, I was profusely sweating like within minutes, and I usually don't sweat that quickly, but it wasn't enjoyable. And I'm like, I better look at the weather. I looked at the weather, and the heat index, I was texting Amy, it was like 104. I'm like, well, no wonder we're so hot. But it's unbearable, and we find ourselves not going to the park during the day when it's that hot. It's just not worth it.
Now, my friends John and James, who you guys met a couple of weeks ago, moved down from Virginia when they retired. And they said that their daily routine is to get up in the morning and they go and get done everything they have to do, whether it's grocery shopping or
Mhm.
errands or whatever it is. They go back to the house for a couple of hours, they cool down. Then maybe they walk in the park for an hour, they go get some lunch, and then they go back home. They just do not leave their homes in the middle of the day. It's just not worth it.
I mean, that's another reason why we want to get a pool. I mean, we're hoping next year we'll be getting a pool, but I mean, we'll see how things work out with that. But
Well, I think that's the blueprint too for being successful in the summer months. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about specific things you can do to get out of the heat and still enjoy the parks, but that has to be the blueprint. Rope drop, get there early, do what you got to do. If you're staying at a resort midday when it, is hotter than hell out, you go back to the resort, maybe you take a nap, you get in the pool, and then later that night when the sun goes down, you go back to the park and you do what you got to do at the park.
That was absolutely gonna be my first edition. When we typically go in May, we've always done a December and a May trip. We have always chosen that resort in May for the pool because we get up first thing in the morning, we go, and we are out of the parks probably by 11 o'clock in the morning. We hit as many rides as we can early, and then we go back. We give the kids some lunch by the pool. We lay by the pool. We spend our afternoon in the water by about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Even that has just become unbearable under the sun. We go back to the room, everyone takes a shower, we get on clean clothes, and we're back out the door maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock for dinner. By the time dinner's over, the sun is down and it's back to being bearable. It's funny, when we went to Disneyland last May, my sister-in-law was there and she made fun of us the whole time because we are a 2 outfit per day family. And because they're locals, they're used to just going to the park in the morning, going nuts, and then driving back home at night. And I said, "We're used to being down in Orlando in May. We're used to being down in that heat. Just having a change of clothes and a shower at the end of the day can make you a whole new person." So we have to, without a doubt, split the day into 2.
The first time I ever went to Disney was in February, and the weather was absolutely spectacular. And then the next couple of times I went, it was also around that time of year because I was on the dance team and our team would go down for the, national competition. And so it was always really nice. And then I was telling Kathleen, I kind of had like a nostalgia, I don't know, a flashback of when we were at Yacht Club last weekend because the first time I ever really experienced that Florida heat and humidity was when I was staying at the Yacht Club with my father. He was down there for a conference and I stayed with him and we stayed at Yacht Club. And the first couple of days when we arrived, it was really nice. But the day that I was leaving, I had a very early in the morning flight back to New Jersey. My dad had to stay for meetings. I had to come back for something, I think work or something. And it was still dark out when I went out to get the cab to go to the airport. This was pre-rideshare, pre-Magical Express. So, I had to take a good old like yellow taxi to the airport. And I stepped out in the morning. It was probably like 5 in the morning. And I felt like I had walked out and was just hit by like a wall of humidity that I had never experienced in my life. And, I live in New Jersey. It gets humid here, but there was something about this humidity that it felt like I had just walked into a vat of pea soup or something. The air was thick and I just couldn't believe it. And the thing about being a DVC member, and I mean, Phil, you kind of said it, it's, we can choose when we want to go. We have a lot of flexibility to go. I, for so long, was able to, when my kids were younger, we could take them out of school or, before they went to school, we could schedule our trips to be in, January and February or, November, and the weather would be so pleasant. But as they got older and schedules became harder to manage, and being in the parks more when it's hot, it definitely is like a completely different vacation when you're there, when you feel like you're standing on the surface of the sun versus when you're just like in this like this pleasant Florida winter. You've escaped the Northeast weather to go to Florida in the winter. When you are leaving in the warm, because today in New Jersey it was 85 degrees. It was hot today. So you're not escaping anything. You're like going from like the fire into like even, further into the flames when you fly down there. So yes, absolutely. The strategies are so key. And I think for most DVC members, you either love it, which is why you go during that time, when it's really hot, or you have the flexibility to go at other times of year. But there are people where it's really the only times they can go because of their jobs or, just in terms of maybe the cost of airfare or whatever it is. So I learned the hard way last year or 2 years ago when I went with my kids, and they each brought their friends, and I had just gotten over COVID, and it was so dang hot. It was the end of July, and I just thought I was going to like melt and die. I was like, I was in Epcot and I had a moment of like, I'm going to lose my mind. So I left my kids, hopped on the monorail. Fortunately, my kids are old enough to be in the park by themselves, which is really nice when you have teenagers. And I just went back, took a nap in the room. I think I went to the pool for a little bit, showered, went to Enchanted Rose. So that will always be my strategy. Hit the pool, take a nap in the air conditioning, and then find an air-conditioned lounge. That's it. End of the episode.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's on my list.
And there is a list.
Well, we know Scott's number one strategy is just to wear a shirt without sleeves. He firmly believes in the right to bare arms.
That doesn't matter if it's summer months or winter months. It's
regardless of what team is on the front, apparently.
Did I tell you guys that the security guard was picking on me walking through Magic Kingdom 2 weeks ago? We're walking out of Tomorrowland towards the hub, and security guard gives me like the come here finger, waves me over. So I go walking over, and he says, "Sir, I'm not sure how to bring this up to you, but we don't allow guns in the park." And I had like this brief moment of panic. Like, did I have something on my shirt? Like and suddenly it dawns on me that I was wearing not quite a tank top or, but my arms were out, and he was picking on me for my arms being bare. My wife thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Are you sure he wasn't referring to the cheese sauce on your shorts?
It was actually, it was before the cheese sauce, now that we're talking about it. Never going to live this one down, am I?
No.
So I'm curious what's on your list. I see this list and you haven't let me look at it yet.
Because you'll steal my ideas.
So I want to know some of your strategies for
I don't have that much.
keeping cool on a hotter than Hades day in Florida.
Hanging out with Scott because he's just cool.
I have have a few things. Obviously, my number one is going to the pools because I could stay at the pool all day. Number two, I have the water parks. There's two water parks there. I have you can hang out at the community halls around the resort. Some of them have a lots to do in there and they're air conditioned. Another favorite of mine is resort hopping. I mean, you got to be out in the heat a little bit to get to each resort, but you can hang out in all the resorts and look around, people watch. Lounge hopping. If you're feeling frisky, you can go bowling at Splitsville. It's air conditioned.
I didn't know where you were going with that one.
Neither
So
did I.
you
I
were
was a
feeling
little nervous
frisky.
there for a second.
You could go to the spa too.
Sorry, I just got distracted. There was an ice cream truck that just went by our house.
And there's a fantastic way to keep cool. Ice cream.
The fat kid in me almost left the podcast and ran out the front door. I'm not going to lie.
We all know my weakness for ice cream. I wouldn't judge.
So I think my list is pretty basic. I think it's all the things that people would think of, but
Well, those are solid options, and I don't think we have not done both water parks. We've just done Typhoon Lagoon, and I enjoy it. I'm not a pool person. I can't swim very well, but I
Mackenzie
enjoy.
did offer to give you lessons a couple of weeks ago. I just want to point that out. She just wanted to, quote, give you the basics.
so I
She
will
did.
also mention the other day, we woke up early when we were at the Polynesian. I went down to the pool. I was texting with Amy, and she knew I was at the pool. And she's like, "So what's Scott doing?" I'm like, "Oh, he's at the pool." So she was shocked that you were at the pool.
I did. I spent 2 hours at is that DVC pool?
Yeah.
At the Polynesian.
The Oasis pool.
And I thought it was great. I mean, it was just a nice, relaxing time. I have no problem being there. It was going to be another hot day, so I thought it was a great way to start off the day. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, Typhoon Lagoon. I was saying how nice. I was surprised how much I loved that park. And now I feel like it's totally worth the extra $100 for the add-on for the annual pass. I love it.
Well, let's get into the water parks because I have never in all of our visits visited one. Give us the rundown on the water park. I've
Well,
never really looked into it.
I can only speak on Typhoon Lagoon, and I will say that wave pool they have is a blast. I mean, there's a lot of people in there, but it is an absolute blast. It reminds me of we had a local theme park back in Ohio called Geauga Lake, and they had something there called the Wave, and it was much smaller. But just picture hundreds of people just basically waiting in a pool, and then every 10 minutes or so, this huge wave comes crashing in. They have a lazy river. They have multiple water slides. I mean, there's all kinds of things. There are different drinks. There's bars. There's, food options. But it's just I think it's a great alternative to what you're used to at Disney when you think of the four main theme parks. If you just want to try something different, I really enjoyed it.
I love the lazy river.
But Blizzard Beach, we've never done. I want to do that one really bad this year, but they're always closed. It seems like
they're never open together. So Typhoon Lagoon is open half of the year, and then they'll close, and Blizzard Beach will open. So Typhoon Lagoon is usually open during the summer months. Blizzard Beach is open during the winter months.
Well, it's interesting. I think that's going to come into play, starting in 2025, because on your first day there, you're going to get free access to the water parks, right? So I think a lot more people will end up taking that as a viable option. It certainly makes it more attractive to us. And I would imagine when they start doing that, they might need to have both water parks open to handle the crowds.
I really enjoy it. I know Lily loves going to Typhoon Lagoon. We just renewed her annual pass. I asked her if we should get the water park again, and she said absolutely. She loves it there. I think they have pretty good food options.
I think it's
They have a lot.
2 trips pays for the add-on option for because I think it's about $70 or $75 per person for a ticket to get in for the day. But yeah, it's totally worth it.
Is it $99 to add on?
Yes, I think it's a
it's
$99
definitely worth
add-on
it.
option, just like the photo pass option is, but definitely worth it for sure.
I was gonna say I've also only been to Typhoon Lagoon, and it was in the month of July, and it was a really nice way to stay cool because I mean it's a water park, so you're in and out of the water a million times. You're damp the entire time, so you're kind of you kind of feel cool as a result of that for the entire time. The just to I believe I have mentioned this in a previous episode. The wave pool did toss me around pretty aggressively. It was a little aggressive, guys.
Little aggressive.
I have a scar on my knee from it because just one thing to note about the wave pool is that the bottom is concrete. It is not covered in sand, or it's not like a rubberized type of material. It is hard, and it knocked me down and dragged me along the bottom of the pool, and my knee got dragged. And so I scraped my knee and have a scar. But it was a ton of fun, and it was a great way to stay cool on a very hot day. And the water slides are fun. I mean, the lines can get a little bit long, but they're a lot of fun. I love the one where I think it's like you can sit 4 or 5 people or 6 people on the tube,
Mm-hmm.
the round one, and you're all on it together and you're spinning the whole time going through the slide. So it is a lot of fun. And I think just, as Disney does, like they did a really good job with the theming and feel and kind of carrying the storyline of the park throughout. So I really loved it. I think Kathleen, you were going to say people get there really early.
Yes, they get there really
Yeah.
early.
And that is something that I remember when we went was
Mhm.
we got there right when it opened. There was a lineup of people waiting to get in, and people just kind of like ran to chairs and reserved chairs, and you need to like scope out an area because you want to be able to also get your seats all together. And so,
Right.
you got to get there early.
They have lockers. They give towels if you're a resort guest. If you're not a resort guest and you're a local and you're just going for the day, you have to buy your towel. And I think it's like $1 or something like that. Or you can bring your own towels. But I like that when you're in the lazy river, there's multiple spots to get on and off. So you can like get on the other side of the park and then get back on the lazy river and get off where your seat is, like where you're camped out. So we don't go enough, I think.
No, we don't, but it's a great option. Kids usually want to go swimming anyway at Disney, and this is a great way just to have a full day. You wouldn't have to leave
Mm-mm.
that park at all. I mean, you could just do what you want to do some water slides, and just relax. There's, like I said, there's great options there for food. You can get lunch there. There's even, I mean, they have characters there.
Mm-hmm.
Character meet and greets are there. Dole Whip places. I mean, you name it, they have it, and it's a great way just to spend a whole day there and still get that Disney magic.
I think they open at 10, I believe. 10, and they might close around 6.
Yeah, I
I'll
can't
have to
remember. I
look.
know we got there early, and
But like we got there before they opened, and they let you in at a certain time, and then they let you walk up to like the main area, and they hold you there until right at 10. And then as soon as it hits 10, they just open the gate and like everybody floods to get a seat.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of seats.
Size-wise, it looks like it would fit completely inside World Showcase Lagoon. So I'm just looking at a map just to try and get a sense of how big it is, and it would completely fit inside of Showcase Lagoon.
I checked the
Yeah.
hours, and it seems that on the weekends it's open later than it is during the week. On this Friday and this Sunday, it'll be open until 8 p.m. Saturday, it's open until 7 p.m. Tonight, it's open until 5 p.m. and it opens at 10 a.m. every day.
Okay.
Which is that's nice too, because if it's a really hot, if you're there during the summer and it's really hot, the fact that it opens at 10, and if you decide to do a water park day, it's nice that it's not opening at 8 or 9, so that you do have a little bit, you can sleep in a little
Mm-hmm.
bit later too and get there, when it opens at 10 versus needing to be rope dropping something at 8 or 8:30.
Well, and if
We
you're
should do.
staying there, it's important to remember that it's not incredibly easy to get there. You do need to transfer
Mm-hmm.
from the bus. If I'm not mistaken, it's is it the Disney Springs, or I think one transfers from Disney Springs, one transfers from Animal
Animal
Kingdom, or
Kingdom. It's
yeah.
Animal
Animal
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
So it's a little bit of a journey to get there. So if it was an 8 o'clock opening with a transfer, you would have to leave the hotel pretty darn early to get there for rope drop at a water park.
Or you could just
Yeah.
take a ride share for $11 and call it a day.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Uber and Lyft on property, but I know a lot of people don't factor that in, aren't comfortable with it, don't use it. A lot of people use Disney transportation, so it's interesting to point out that it's a bit of a journey to get there if you want to do it and you don't want to ride share over.
They also have after hours at Typhoon Lagoon. I
The
think.
glow nights I've heard a lot of. People have
Mhm.
raved about those.
Yeah, I think that's, is that for the Moonlight Magic or is that something separate? Because they also
I
have
think they have
Moonlight
2
Magic.
different things. I think it's
Okay.
2 different things. They have, like, an after hours event, and then they've had a Moonlight Magic there
Okay.
exclusively for DVC members.
Because I know this Saturday they're having, it says on the calendar, they have a special ticketed event from 8 to 11. So the park closes at 7, but
I think it's H2O
mhm.
Glow After Hours.
Yes.
But we haven't done that, but I would like to do that. But yeah, we should go soon.
Definitely.
I forget that we have it.
Especially, now that it's really getting hot outside. Like when we went to Epcot, like you
It
said, it
was
was just like, like I'm having a good
I'm
time,
ready to
but
go. Ready to go
it's
home.
you don't want to eat anything. You don't want to really, if you want to drink around the world or grab a couple alcoholic beverages, it's just too hot for that.
It
But
just saps the life right out of you.
a water park is perfect.
And even if you're not a strong swimmer, there's so much more to do there. It's not, you can still go down the slides. You can still go on the lazy
I was
river.
going to say the lazy river is a true lazy river. It's not the 100-foot deep Stormalong Bay lazy river that they have, but it's truly a lazy river where you can just kick back and relax, and you could sit in that thing literally for hours and just go
Mhm.
around the park and fall asleep.
Yep.
All right, so we want to talk about some things that you can do while you're in the park to try and beat the heat. And I think I'm just going to open it up and I'm going to say you start to appreciate some of the rides and the shows that you normally wouldn't appreciate, some things that you normally wouldn't rope drop
Something
or
like the Frozen sing-along.
you know what? I have a list, I will say. Kathleen is rubbing off on me. And on my list, it says Frozen Sing Along starring Amy Power. But it's definitely one of the ones that I'm talking about where you start to appreciate those shows. Frozen Sing Along, Turtle Talk with Crush, The Enchanted Tiki Room, Philhar Magic, Festival of the Lion King, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which is great, by the way. All of those things are just nice ways to beat the heat. And, they're a little time consuming. They can take up a good portion of your day, but what a great way to get out of the heat and get some of that AC.
Now, one show that I feel like just doesn't get a lot of love and gets overshadowed by the Festival of the Lion King is Finding Nemo the musical. I think that musical at Animal Kingdom is so enjoyable. The talent is great. I think it's so well done, and it is fully indoors and air conditioned. So that is like the Festival of the Lion King. I feel like you still kind of have like some open areas where I don't know, like it doesn't feel as cool. Like the Finding Nemo theater is what the theater in the wild, is that what it's called? It is fully air conditioned and it feels great. And so you've got a great show in air conditioning. I think it is a wonderful way to spend a hot day when you're at Animal Kingdom, which is arguably the hottest park.
And the waiting area is more shaded. You are in a quieter part of the park, and I would say arguably it is a better show musicality and talent-wise, but again, it suffers from being in that back corner that's just completely underutilized. You cannot walk by Festival of the Lion King without seeing the crowds and wondering what's going on there and knowing the show. It is so easy to walk by that building because it's set back and it's on that little odd corner that comes out of Dino Land and goes back towards Discovery Island. You could walk right by it and not even know there's an incredible show inside. And you're right, it's indoors, it's air conditioned, it's dark. It's I think it's a much better show overall than Festival of the Lion King. I didn't even think about that one, and you're absolutely right. That is a winner.
When I did my Animal Kingdom centric trip that I did where I stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge and only really spent time at Animal Kingdom, I had to, you have to line up early for Festival of the Lion King, and you're in line that's like on a path in the middle of Harambe,
In a mass of humanity,
exposed.
shoulder to shoulder,
Yes.
elbow to elbow, in what is maybe the hottest part of the park.
And if you don't show up early to get in line, then you're not going to get in. And I decided was looking at my schedule and what I was going to do next. And there was a Finding Nemo show coming up that was like, oh, I'm probably not going to get in because it's starting in a couple minutes. I have to rush over there, and there was plenty of seating left. I had a pick of where I wanted to sit, and I was actually kind of shocked because it had been a long time since I saw the show, and when it was, I was watching it just blown away by the talent and just how professional that production really is. So, yes, I can't sing the praises enough. Finding Nemo the musical, must do if you're at Animal Kingdom in the heat of the day, save that for the middle of the day.
And if you need a nap, the Hall of Presidents is always there in Magic Kingdom. It's my favorite napping spot in all of Walt Disney World.
It's so underrated. I love the Hall of Presidents so much. I really do. But you're right. It's a good nap.
And American Adventure in Epcot, air conditioned, big comfy seats. It's a fairly long show. It's an excellent show.
I was going to say the American Adventure is my number one napping spot. Once they got rid of Ellen's Energy Adventure, American Adventure became number one.
It was our warm-up spot in the 2019 marathon. It was so cold that weekend that we went into American Adventure and napped for a solid 20 minutes because we had woken up like the third day in a row at 3 a.m. and it was freezing out. So we went in there to warm up and nap. It's like us and 6 other people that were running. We all had our medals on and we were all snoozing through the show.
It's a good one. But yes, Kathleen, you're right. The aquarium, that whole living, what's it called? The Living Seas Pavilion.
Living Seas.
That's a good spot to go to escape the heat. I just remember being there with my kids. I mean, that's probably not a place that we would spend a ton of time at now because they're teenagers and they would find it boring. But when they were little, we would spend so much time in there. We would, we'd do the Nemo ride. They loved going into Bruce, is that his name? The shark, into his mouth and having the picture taken and just watching the different sea life swim by, particularly if they could catch a shark swimming by in that tank. That is a good spot. My one complaint is that there's really no place to sit in there.
True.
That's
Once you
true.
take your nap on the Nemo ride, all you want to do is continue to sit.
So no trip to Epcot is complete without Mackenzie going in to visit Lil Joe the manatee.
Mm. Well, you can sit at Turtle Talk with Crush.
You can.
On the floor.
True.
Well, aren't there are some benches in the back?
Couple.
Yeah, along the wall.
Yeah. But that is not something that I've done in a really long time. My kids loved it when they were little, but it's just not one that we revisit. I mean, I kind of feel like World Showcase is a relatively good place to be on a hot day because there are so many different shops that you can pop in and out of on your way meandering. And if you wanted to get a drink or get, a snack, you can typically find some place that's shaded or indoors with air conditioning to take a moment of respite from the heat.
Well, it's certainly better than Future World. I'll be very curious to see what they do with Communicore once it opens up, because now you no longer have that fountain and the big sunshades down the center. That's all open, where before you could at least escape the sun a little bit right down the center behind Spaceship Earth. So it'll be interesting to see what Communicore does. Future World is just always, from the time I was a little kid, been just hotter than the face of the sun with the concrete soaking up the sun. I know when I was a kid, it was all about the shows at Epcot. I can't tell you how often we'd go into Canada or China just to see the shows to escape the heat when we were down there, because we would typically go, we'd do some February trips, but we did some August trips, and it was absolutely essential with little kids in August going through Epcot to get inside. And those shows can go a fairly long time as well. The only downside is I haven't been inside of China or France for a while, but the Canada show is standing only. And oh boy, did that used to kill me when I was a kid.
Yeah, Canada's still standing and China is a standing show. France has a theater with seats. So that and also a beautiful show. That is a great place to go to escape the heat. to take a little nap. It is very relaxing because it's got the music like Debussy playing in the background, and it's it's a good one to escape the heat and to just relax.
I know as far as walking through the parks, Mackenzie was quite impressed with Kathleen's little fan that she had.
Amazon special.
Amazon.
So we have resorted to cooling towels, which the kids love and I despise. I think they just make it worse. We have worn those fans that go around your neck that blow up towards your face. We've done everything under the sun to try and stay cool walking through the parks. I think they're temporary respites, but they are everywhere in the parks when you look around when it's hot. Everybody is now wearing some sort of cooling device hanging around their neck.
I still love the water bottle, the spray bottle with the fan on it. To me, that is like the best way to stay cool, like the best thing you could have. It's annoying to carry around, but when you fill that thing with ice water and you spray it on yourself, I mean, it really is refreshing. That really, really helps. We have a bunch, and we used to, when I go for the summertime, I pack those if I'm going with my kids and knowing if we're going to be in the park. I mean, I don't really bring them with me now because I do my best to not be baking in the sun in the middle of the day, but those things are great.
The little fans that I have, they're pretty powerful. They
They
have like
are.
3 different speeds. I mean, I told Mackenzie I was going to get her one, but they're nice. They have a rechargeable battery, or you just plug it in. I'm sorry, and it charges up pretty quick. It lasts a while. I mean, they're worth it to me.
I can post a link to them in the show notes for anybody that's listening that wants to click through.
Yeah, it's really cute because it's shaped like a little Mickey head and it's very thin, so it fits nicely into a bag. It's like no bigger than a cell phone.
How
Right.
long do they last? Do they go all day on one charge?
Oh,
For
longer.
me. Hmm.
Kathleen gave me one, and I think that I used it like 3 times, like on 3 different days before I needed to charge it. Now, granted, I wasn't using it nonstop all day, but it lasted.
Right. Well, Scott mentioned it. My favorite is ice cream. I could eat my way through the park all day long in ice cream, and it may not keep you cool, but gosh darn it, you feel a lot cooler when you're housing some Dole Whips and sundaes.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just go grab a No Way Jose. You're good to go.
I feel like that would be a little heavy for me on one of those really, really hot days. Like I need something that's a little bit lighter. That drink that I discovered or that I was drinking before the race. Remember, Kathleen? We were sitting poolside. That
Yeah.
was, oh my gosh, that was so refreshing. It was seltzer with lime juice, cucumber slices, and mint. And it was the perfect poolside drink on a hot day. Because it
What's
was
that
hot
thing you
that
were gonna
weekend
get?
too.
It was hot.
You were talking about something that the Grand Floridian has now, and it reminded me of a Good Humor bar.
Oh yeah, it's a strawberry shortcake ice cream bar.
Do you guys get the Mickey Premium bars when you go?
The kids do, but I find that especially when it's hot, we end up cleaning more chocolate off the children than we do anything else.
Yeah, those.
Emma loves them, so she always gets one if she's with me. But I don't get them if I'm by myself or with anybody else.
It's the kids' go to. Hey, speaking of ice cream, we were having this discussion again. When you go and get the Dole Whip, I am a Dole Whip swirl guy. I want the pineapple and the vanilla. They need to offer a coconut and pineapple swirl. They have the
They
coconut
have.
soft
They've
serve.
they've done that.
I have not yet been there when they've offered it. I always get the pineapple and vanilla. If they did a pineapple and coconut, I don't think they could serve it fast enough for me. I would just sit outside of Aloha Isle and just eat those one after the other until someone had to cart me out of the park.
I believe that's like an everyday standard item at Aloha Isle now, isn't it? The coconut and the pineapple.
Well, they have
I had it there, and I had it with the rum floater, and it was delicious.
I
The
did
co-
not see it.
the coconut is my favorite Dole Whip. I always get that. What is it?
It's got a name for it. I forget what it's called because
The
it has
serenade, or is that what?
The tropical serenade, the one that
yes,
comes with the
that's
cake
what-
pop. Emily gets it all the
Yes.
time, but it is only coconut on top of,
Yes.
I believe, the pineapple juice. What I want is a
Yeah.
pineapple Dole Whip and coconut swirl.
See, I'd rather have like coconut Dole Whip than actual ice cream. I'm more of like a sherbet type person than actual ice cream.
Yeah, that one that
It's
you did is
actually
amazing.
I like Dole Whip because it's plant-based. And dairy, like in the heat, can be, especially for me, like I have dairy issues. So Dole Whip is a really good go-to. I mean, I think overall, when you think about the parks on a hot day, I mean, Hollywood Studios is pretty brutal, especially back in Toy Story Land. I mean, and that is like, I mean, when we were just there that day when Scott didn't feel well, I mean, it was hot and it's hard to find shaded spots. So I
Yeah,
think that
definitely.
at Hollywood Studios, you have the benefit of having a couple of stage shows and the Indiana Jones stunt show spectacular, which is not air conditioned, but it's shaded and they do have ceiling fans. So like there is some airflow in there. So that's that's a good, it really is like, it comes down to the way, like the things that you choose to do. And those shows are really, I would imagine that they are much more crowded during the summer, probably because there's more people there, but also because people are just like, get me anywhere where I can be in the shade.
You're right. You have to plan your day differently. You need to start taking advantage of all of those indoor shows when it's that hot. Otherwise, it borders on unbearable.
Yeah. It's a Small World is a great one because it's long. That's a
Oh.
long indoor ride.
Think I would rather die of heat stroke right in the center of the
Oh,
hub.
stop
Yeah,
yourself.
the ambulance ride to the hospital would be a better experience, I
Oh,
think.
whatever.
And the hospital's air conditioned.
Whatever. It's a good
I
ride and
mean,
you know it.
and to just go back to what I said my go-to is, I mean, and Kathleen, you also talked about it, is like the resort hopping or lounge hopping. Really on a really hot day, to me, there is no, I'll spend time at the pool in the morning, but like once you get up to like the really, really hot part of the day, I just want to be in air conditioning. I want to take a shower, cool off, and then sit someplace in air conditioning. And I think that being on the monorail is great for that because you don't ever have to really, like, you have to go outside to get on the monorail, but that's covered and you can just travel around hopping to the different resorts and relaxing. I mean, there are a couple of resorts that it's not ideal to stay at when it's that hot. And I think that Wilderness Lodge is one of them because Geyser Point for me is like a huge selling point for Wilderness Lodge. And it's too hot in those really, really hot months to sit outside, like eating a bison burger in like 105 degrees, no matter how pretty that view is. To me, Wilderness Lodge is like a cooler weather resort. I own Beach Club, which is a warmer weather resort because you've got Stormalong Bay, you've got beaches and cream, you just got the overall summer vibe. And then I own it Copper Creek, which is perfect for like the winter months where you want that rustic feel and it's so nice to sit at Geyser Point. But I think that the resorts that really give you, a great place to be to escape are the monorail loop and Animal Kingdom Lodge. You have to give Animal Kingdom Lodge some love here because you're able to do things in that resort. Clearly you can see the animals, but the collection of African art and artifacts is really impressive. You can walk around and spend time in the middle of the day at that resort. I think that that's something, if you can get over there from a park, like if you're somebody who's at a park, maybe you're at Animal Kingdom and you're really, really hot and you just really need a break, taking time to go over there or, maybe having lunch at Sanaa, that is a great place to spend a hot day.
That is the only resort where you can play the game Match the Feces to the Species.
Yes, I believe that we've covered that in a previous episode.
Absolutely.
I'll second Wilderness Lodge as being problematic. We've stayed there before when it's been exceptionally warm out. And I think even from our perspective with little kids, we're not up for resort hopping so much. They just don't enjoy it. But the main pool is fairly small. There are not a lot of umbrellas, there's not a lot of shade. And the Geyser Point pool is brutal. There is nowhere to hide in that pool whatsoever. I would also say, for as much as we love it, I don't love Boardwalk. when it's that hot. That's another resort where there's not a lot of places to hide. There's a lot of seating, but not a lot of places to hide. You've just got those rows upon rows of chairs pushing back. Not a lot of cover there. So they're
Hmm.
not among our top list for pools when it's exceptionally hot out.
You know what's a good pool? The Beach Club Villas pool.
Couldn't
I
help
just said,
herself.
oh my gosh, the way that you just rolled your eyes in the back into the back of your head.
I was wondering if
I
people
just,
could hear Phil roll his eyes to the back of his
I
head
don't,
just now.
I mean, I feel like you must have hurt yourself with that one.
So this weekend was the first time that we were at the Oasis pool at Polynesian. We've always just gone to the main pool. And I think I have to rank that as one of my top pools now. I really enjoyed being over there at
We
that
only go
Oasis
over to the
pool.
main pool because the kids want to use the slide. If it were up to us, especially since we primarily stay in Tokelau, we would stay at the Oasis pool
Hmm.
every single day. And the other thing that occurs to me, Emily mentioned it, and we didn't think ahead far enough. But on a hot day hanging out by the pool, this is when your cabanas really come into play. You've got refreshments, you've got cover, you've got shade, you've got comfortable chairs. If it's super hot and you're going to spend a pool day, it is worth it all day long to get a cabana.
So those cabana type things that they have over at the Oasis pool, is it like a regular cabana like at Grand Floridian or Beach Club? Is it
Yep,
the same thing? Okay.
exactly. You've just got those big permanent structures as
Okay.
opposed to the tents, but it's the same service, the same everything.
I really enjoyed it over there.
And the menu over there is pretty good as
Mhm.
well, and because it's not as crowded, you get far better service from the
Mhm.
CMs that are walking around because they don't have 40,000 people they're trying to take care of, and I think the menu's great.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of DVC resorts, in addition to Wilderness Lodge not being a great hot weather resort, in my opinion. I mean, and I hate to beat up on them because they're always at the bottom of the lists, but Saratoga Springs, Old Key West, and Riviera are also not great hot weather resorts because, Old Key West and Saratoga Springs is so sprawling that you've got to walk a distance to get to the main buildings, and that is just unpleasant. And with Riviera, we've talked about when we talked about the lounges, Bar Riva is really like their only like
It's
lounge, and it's a pool
outside.
bar, but it's outside. And I mean, it's covered, so there is shade, but you
It's
can't
very
escape that
limited
humidity in
seating,
there.
there's not a lot
Yeah.
of room there, and that pool has 0 cover. Unless the sun goes behind the building, that sun is beating on you at the Riviera pool.
And typically with those really, really hot days and humidity, that's accompanied by thunderstorms and rain, and then the Skyliner will go down. So I think that Riviera is a resort that is best to be stayed at in like the cooler months versus like in the dead of summer, in my opinion.
Uncomfortable silence because I'm thinking Riviera's resort best stayed at by somebody other than me.
I'm wearing an old Key West shirt today, if anybody cares.
As a
You
joke?
are? Wait, let me stand up and let me see. Oh, that's the one that Chad had
Yeah.
made for you. I love it.
Scott Huff recommends Old Key West.
Very funny. I think that Grand Floridian is also a fantastic hot weather resort because while there are separate buildings, they're all located enough to each other that you're not walking like huge distances to get
Hmm.
to the main building. And once you're in the main building, you've got shopping, you've got plenty of dining options, you have the piano player, you have an amazing lounge, just places to sit and relax. And we've talked about it a lot, but that courtyard pool is great. It is really great. And at nighttime, if you don't want to be, if you want to watch the fireworks, but you're really hot and you don't want to just be like standing in the humidity, to be able to sit in the pool, that's a winner.
I'm sorry, where was that at?
I don't think that you've heard of it. I don't know if you'd like it there.
Okay. I believe it was Grand Floridian, the crown jewel. Walt Disney World's flagship resort. We can move on now.
The only ding I would give the courtyard pool, and we encountered it a couple of weeks ago, is I think the seating is a little limited there. It fills up rather quickly.
I typically go there right in the morning when it's empty, and then again at night. So it's at those times it's not as crowded, but I could see where that pool could get pretty crowded.
The other thing I think is just really important, I think we've said it, we've touched on it. The hot weather comes in the summer months. There's a reason that Disney extends their hours late into the night. Just plan your day differently. When we're there in December or January, it is very much about going out and hitting the parks, and you've got the good weather for it. You can extend your park days. The hours were a little limited, so you need to get all of your experiences in prior to, say, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. You get into the summer, those parks stay open with the exception of Animal Kingdom, but even Animal Kingdom stays open till 8, 9 o'clock. Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, they stay open till 10, 11, midnight. If you want to get up in the morning and hit the parks, go for it. And if you don't, get up, relax, enjoy the pool, go get some dinner, and just go late. Those are some of the best times in the park in the hot weather. It's night, it's beautiful, the lights are on, the crowds can be lower, and it's cooler, it's comfortable. I mean, those of us from the Northeast go down there and it's 75, 80 degrees at night. It's absolutely beautiful. Short sleeve shirt, pair of shorts. The kids can go late. You've just got to plan your day differently to handle the heat. People that are used to going when it's not as warm out just need to understand that there's a difference in how you structure your day.
Kathleen touched on it when she talked about Splitsville, but there are options of things to do at Disney Springs. I mean, it's not necessarily the type of, you wouldn't want to be just walking around aimlessly shopping. But if you went there to go bowling or to watch a movie or to see Cirque du Soleil, there are plenty of things that you can do that would occupy a big chunk of time. So if you were looking to get out of the heat in the middle of the day, I mean, Cirque du Soleil, the first show, I don't think is until 5 p.m. So that wouldn't be a midday activity, but bowling or the movies, definitely an option to go in the middle of the day and to escape the heat. And then to your point, Phil, because the pools are open, I mean, the parks are open later, go back to the resort, have dinner, and then go back into the parks and stay up and take advantage of the hours where the sun is no longer blazing in the sky. And also just hydrating. I mean, I think that is something that is so important, especially because so many people drink a lot when they are, a lot of adults will drink a lot, like they're drinking around the world. You can get free ice water at Disney World. You don't need to be buying bottles of water. Hydrating is so important, and just taking breaks throughout the day is go a long way in making you not feel like you are like the crabbiest human alive, questioning every life choice you've ever made and why you decided to go to Disney in the middle of the summer.
1,000%. We're cramming water into the kids nonstop, and they don't want to drink because they want to keep going. But you can clearly see that if they're hydrated, they're having a better day, they're more comfortable. It makes a huge difference. I think people forget about that when they're going around the parks, especially the free ice water. Any quick service will have cups of ice water just out for pickup or be happy to give you one across the counter. You don't need the $6 bottle of Dasani, and you don't even need to carry your water bottle around with you. Any quick serve has ice water just for the asking.
Yep. I do carry my water bottle just because it fits in my lounge fly and I just fill it up everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think we all agree that not being in the parks on those days is the right choice. But if you can only go during the summer, definitely, like we said, hydrating, taking advantage of the shows, taking midday breaks, those are the things that you have to do to really keep yourself, I think, feeling sane. I always joke, like, I'm a person who, when I feel hot, being hot is like the thing that like triggers my anxiety more than anything. So I like turn into the Incredible Hulk when I get hot. It behooves everyone when I heed this advice so that I am not losing my mind at my kids or.
We were just there, what, a few days ago? This was probably a couple weeks ago, and it's before 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's already hot. It's 90 degrees outside, and Phil's right. If your kids aren't hydrated, they're not happy, and they're already crying. the parents are yelling at the kids already because they're miserable. We see
it all the time.
the grown adult woman speaking to her probably 15 or 16-year-old son. He's hot, dripping with sweat, does not want to be there, clearly does not want to be there because he's just hot. And you can hear her just telling him, I know you're telling me you want to be here, but I need you to show me you want to be here. And it was just a great example of how not to handle your Disney trip.
Well, I think that is, people underestimate, and this is whether it's hot or not, but people underestimate the value of showing up prepared, like having planned and done the work beforehand to make sure that your trip goes smoothly. And definitely when it is hot, it's even more important because you need to know what to do next, and you need to be able to make that decision quickly. Because the difference between a meltdown and a happy vacation is like literally could be like the difference of 5 minutes.
Definitely.
All right, guys, do you think we effectively covered it?
I think so. We didn't talk about the DVC lounge. That's a great option too. We didn't talk about that, but it is nice that they have it available. We just visited the AP lounge the other day, and I thought that was nice. They didn't have the extensive. Well, I mean, they had peanuts and water, and I think that was it. You with
The
us?
DVC lounge. Oh yeah.
I was
The
reading
DVC
something.
lounge at Epcot is, I've gone up there a couple times, but I don't know. It's not. I find it underwhelming. I find the fact that you're basically in a greenhouse, like even though it's air conditioned, there's still something that's kind of like bright, and it's not as much of an escape as I want it to be. But it is nice to be able to have free drinks and charge
Free
and
drinks.
sit
Yeah,
down.
I was just gonna say you can recharge yourself, recharge your phone, and definitely fill up on all the free drinks that they have.
We've used it quite a bit with the kids. They love going up there. They think it's just the neatest thing ever. But I would take the DVC lounge in Disneyland 11 times out of 10. I think it's more comfortable. I think it's nicer. And most importantly, the bathrooms are inside the lounge versus having to exit the DVC lounge, walk all the way around the Journey to Imagination building to go to the bathroom, to walk all the way back to the other side and upstairs. That's the one problem with that lounge for me.
I mean, I think we can all agree that if we could be Club 33 members, that would be the ultimate escape from the heat. But until then, I guess I'll take the DVC lounge and the free fountain soda.
I joked with them the other day that my ultimate goal with this podcast, I don't want to be known in the park. I don't want to be famous. I don't want people to recognize me, but gosh darn, would I love to get a Club 33 member, become a fan, and invite me in there just to get a Club 33 hat out of the swag closet. It's the ultimate flex.
I mean, you could probably get a Club 33 hat off of Poshmark.
Not the same.
We did go
Well, you
in
hear
the...
that? I'm just saying, you hear that, anybody? Phil is putting it out there into the universe.
Nobody wants to get thrown out of Club 33 for dragging a knuckle dragger like me along with them.
We did go in the AP lounge a couple days ago at Epcot. That's open for a limited time. It's pretty big in there. I mean, it was cool, and they offered water and tea. Maybe it was like a flavored tea and some snacks.
I love that space in there. I mean, that when that was the restaurant, it was beautiful, and I'm sad that that's no longer, a restaurant offering, because I feel like with the belly dancer and the food, it just kind of felt like an authentic experience. And I'm sad that they now, because they used to have that as festival seating that anybody could go into, and then they made it exclusive access for different groups. Now that it's AP, I can go back in, but it seems like there have been lines to get in. So maybe those will die down now that everyone has checked it out. But I really like that space. I think it's pretty.
I can confirm that Moroccan does still have the belly dancer outside in Morocco, because my wife was shaking her head in wonderment and disgust when Luke and I spent an unreasonable amount of time watching the show.
It's educational.
I was trying to point out her athleticism.
Was that a good way to stay cool?
I was not cool.
Oh wait, speaking though, this is another one of my favorite stay cool treats is the frozen what is iced tea. The frozen mint iced tea in Morocco is so good and such a good thing to have when you're feeling hot because mint is naturally cooling plus it's a frozen drink. So the combination of the two, it's like you kind of like feel like you're cooling from within. So that's at that the place that's across from, that little window. I forget what it's called, like something Sips, I think, that is across the way from where the Moroccan performs.
I don't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm just gonna get sangria there.
Well, I mean, I think the Moroccan Pavilion overall has a lot of places to cool off because you've got the areas in the back where you can get the sangria. You've got all of like the like hidden nooks and crannies inside of those various buildings where they have art on display and then you've got the mint iced tea, which I love. I mean, I could probably give you a whole episode of which drinks I find to be the most refreshing, but I'll spare you that right now. I think we've done a pretty fair job of covering how the heck to not melt into a puddle of misery and despair when you're at Disney in the heat.
And it happens. Don't fool yourself, guys. It totally happens. I think every time we're there in the summertime, there's the paramedics are out, somebody's laying on the ground because you completely underestimate the heat. You try to push yourself. You have a limited time that you're there. You want to get everything done, and it's just not worth it. I think every time we go in the summertime, you see those paramedics there.
All right, what do you think, guys? We've got it all, or at least most of it?
Think so.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening as always. If everybody could be so kind and invite us to Club 33, I mean, head on over to Apple Podcast, give us a like and a 5-star review. Amy?
Please be sure to join our Facebook group, DVC Clubhouse, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.